Well, let's go to line 4. Good morning, George Martin. You're on the air, sir.
How are you, Paddy?
Fine, thank you for asking. How about you?
That's good. Terribly cold weather, isn't it?
Absolutely freezing.
A cold winter. But here in Clonaville, I must say, it's pretty hot around here with our winter games.
Well, yes, and everyone should be congratulated. It's a huge success so far. I know a young person just returned yesterday. They said they had a fantastic time.
You used the right word when you talked about huge. I'm not on the organising committee, but I know what it's all about. And a tremendous amount of work went into putting it together. And it's working fine. There's been no problems that I know of. I try to keep my ears open and my eyes and go around. And things are going fine, and everyone is having a great time.
Well, I think that's terrific. And hopefully the games finish like they began with a huge success.
Yes, indeed. That's not what I called about. I again, talking about keeping your ears open and your eyes open and so on and listening, I try to keep abreast of what's going on, and I change my mind almost every day about this and that and something else. Yeah, but from what I read and what I hear on the news, on open lines, for example, I agree with the host sometimes, and sometimes I don't.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's as it should be. But anyway, trying to figure out just what's going on, and it's the business about hydro and the warnings we're getting and so on. Paddy, I don't know, I wrote a letter one time to the press, and I titled it, "What Price Muskrat Falls?" Now, I know you've heard all kinds of things about Muskrat Falls, and you get sick and tired of hearing about Muskrat Falls, and basically so am I as well. Nevertheless, it's one of the issues that we have to deal with. At what price Muskrat Falls? Not only when it's finished and we start paying for it where we really feel it, not then, but right now. What are we doing? I like the situation where hydro is warning us, don't watch your power, watch your usage, don't use it in certain hours and so on. There's only so much we have and so on. And I suppose rightly so. But when you think about it, when I think about it at least, we're an oil-producing province. We got untold amounts of money coming from the oil fields. And, okay, so one would think that we have money to burn. My, oh my. Well, we're down in Newfoundland. Boy, they really got it made. And here we are, afraid to turn up our thermostat because we might cause a blackout. And sometimes I think about it and I say, boy, what's wrong with us anyway? Just what is wrong? I liken it sometimes, Paddy, to an individual family. Supposing, for example, I work here in Clonaville, and I'm earning a good salary. I'm earning 100 plus. There, so I'm doing well. My wife's got a part-time job, and between the two, we got a good income. We have 4 children, and we want for nothing in a sense. I got my house, my home, and we're doing this and we're doing that and so on. And then one of my buddies said, George, boy, why don't you invest and buy a rental property? Why don't you buy a home? Lots of people are doing it. And I get the idea, I get a hold of it, and I said, yeah, it seems to make sense, you know. We're doing well right now. I think I might. So I buy myself a home for $310,000. And I'm going to rent it now and make a good more amount of money on that. Then I find that that's not quite so easy. And the mortgage, when I get it all figured out, now I've got a whopping big bill I've got to pay in the mortgage each month.
Right.
And I suddenly realized, oh, brother, now it's not quite what I thought it would be. And whereas I used to give Jim a pair of skates when he wanted them, or the other fellow wanted a bike and so on, boys, I gotta watch them now. Watch the fellas. No, we can't have those things now. I have to cut back. Now, if you transfer that picture, I know I'm simplifying it too much, but to the provincial government, they have an income. And it will only go so far. I don't care whether it's from oil or where it's from. And if as we've done, invest such huge amounts in one project, all our eggs in one basket, Paddy, in Muskrat Falls, and we're told we're doing it now, and Malco tells us we're doing it because it's the cheapest thing. But, Paddy, I go up to the store, and I buy certain meats, and there's some there I can't buy. I go to the cheapest ones, I guarantee you, and it seems to me that we're buying the most expensive one, regardless of what it costs. And there a while ago, just recently, Nalcor went to the moneylenders, and negotiated a cheap loan, cheap rates on $5 billion, I think is what I read.
Okay.
$5 billion.
So
okay, the interest alone on that is $100 billion or so a year. And it seems like we're floating money, but then I heard my he's now premier say a few days before that, I might have to borrow money to pay the ongoing bills, the day-to-day bills. I say to myself, it doesn't make sense. What are we getting into? I think Mr. Marshall, and now he's not listening, I don't imagine, but if he's listening to me now, I think, sir, you scratch your head, you have done it more often than not of late. And how in the world are we going to do it? At what
does that mean, though, George?
Falls?
What does that mean?
Well, at what price Muskrat Falls? If I say to you, Paddy, you mentioned this morning somebody in Ottawa, some member there in the federal government, who was saying something, afterwards retracted and so on, and I think I'll use your words and I'll quote you. I'll tell you what he was doing. He was lying.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Couldn't you there? All right. So I'm going to try to tell it as it is, as I see it. As I see it, I would say to you that if Muskrat Falls were never talked about at all, never known, there was no Muskrat Falls, I don't think that we would have been at power failures back in January in Holyrood. Why? Because the generators there, again, from what I read and hear, they're worn out and gone and should have been replaced long ago. But Nalcor money, what money are they using? Government money. What are they using? What they get from taxpayers.
Well, the Crown
only have a certain amount.
Yeah, the Crown Corp, right? So I don't know. Every bit of money Nalcor ever spends for the remainder of their existence will be my money. Like, no matter what it is.
Yes, that's right.
On any front.
Right.
So
I think, and I only think, and I don't know, and nobody can say that I'm wrong because nobody else knows either. I would say to you, Daddy, those generators would have been replaced long ago if there had been no Muskrat Falls.
Do you think we'll ever get to have that figured out and proven by the PUB or otherwise? Because I don't think we can. I don't think we can even prove those types of things. So.
I doubt it, to tell you the truth.
Yep.
I doubt it. And therefore, I said to myself, boy, it's sort of a losing battle. We're into it now. We're into the Muskrat Falls. We're going to get Muskrat Falls. We're going to get a power in 2 or 3 years' time from Muskrat Falls. And God help us. I hope my worst fears, and I've said this in letters to the press too, I hope that I'm dead wrong, and I hope it's the best thing that ever happened to us.
Well,
but I have my doubts.
Well, I think a lot of people have doubts. When we were spending that much money, all the necessary reviews, reports, and investigations to alleviate those doubts and risks and have all the cards on the table should be what we do. I mean, that's what I've long said. George, really appreciate the call as always. Stay in touch with the show.
Just a final thing there. I heard Jim this morning, Jim Morgan. I listened to Jim. Jim is a forceful speaker, and he got his ideas, and a lot of them are worth listening to. But he mentioned Nalcor and so on, the boys not knowing basically what they're doing and so on. I don't think it's a matter of not knowing what one is doing. I think, again, Nalcor is working for government, so an arm of government, and they're doing their damnedest to try to do the best thing they can there, but they're restricted, too, in what they can do. They can't do this. They can't. I'm saying to Mr. Martin is saying to himself, we could. You say we should have replaced the generators in a Holyrood so everything would be working to capacity. But how can we do that? We've got some money already involved down there down in Labrador. Sure, there's hundreds of millions being spent every month right now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean,
to think about, really.
It depends where we spend the money. If people think that gas was the issue, then we should be able to have a full look at what that includes. Same with every other form of generating power. If people are willing to have that conversation, we also have to be willing to have some further understanding and all the questions answered by Nalcor and otherwise. I don't know why government and Nalcor are so wary to have a oversight committee, whether that be political or otherwise, have the Auditor General in there, just so if they say what they say is true, then why can't we have someone go in and have a look so we can all be comforted, or we can have highlighted the risks and some of the potential problems with it. This doesn't mean people are bad people. It means you always need oversight of any expenditure. I don't care if you buy Bic pens or if we're building dams. We should, by good governance, have more oversight than we have. And no one disagrees with that.
That's right. And I think, and again, I use the word think because I don't know and you don't know and none of us know for sure. But I think if we were talking to Ed Martin, if he were honest with you, he has his doubts sometimes about Muskrat Falls too, and the tremendous cost that is to all of us and so on. But you get into a situation where what can you do? How can I backtrack now? It's too late. I've got to make the best of it. And I would say, Mr. Martin, in a sense, almost frightened to death that some people know. We don't know. We're talking about 5 billion, so on. God, or 6 or 7 billion, whatever. Paddy, that could be 10 billion before it's all finished.
It could be. We don't know. Cost overrun should be one of the major worries.
And that's why it's so frightening, really.
Yep.
In a simple manner, it's putting all our eggs in one basket, and generally speaking, that's not good.
And it's hard to argue that point, although I guess the blatantly obvious is you can't dam a bit of the river. If you're going hydro, you're going all out. You're damming the whole river and you're maximizing the capacity. And it's not the number they talk about, the 824. It's only realistically about 590 megawatts can be generated. George, I appreciate your input as always, and hopefully stay in touch.
Thank you for taking my call.
Pleasure.
I might call again about the business about the election and the candidates and the huge amount of money that they've got to have. You've got to be a millionaire before you can run for it and so on.
Yeah.
I got to toss around a few ideas about that. I might do that one of those.
Is one muckety-muck versus the other?
Thanks, Paddy.
Thanks, George.
Okay, fine.